In the heart of the ancient world, where the Tiber River glistened under the golden sun, there existed a small settlement known as Roma. This fledgling city, with its humble beginnings, seemed an unlikely contender to shape the course of civilization. Yet, as the years unfurled like the sails of a mighty ship, it blossomed into the hub of an empire that would span 3 continents, enveloping countless cultures under its formidable banner. Picture bustling streets, where the air was thick with the scent of fresh bread and sweet wine, as merchants hawked their wares and citizens went about their lives, unaware that they were part of something monumental. Children played in the shadows of grand temples, their laughter ringing like music, while soldiers clad in armor marched with purpose, their disciplined steps echoing the strength of Rome's formidable army. As the empire grew, so did its ambition. Magnificent cities sprang forth like wildflowers, adorned with soaring columns, intricate mosaics, and sprawling forums where ideas clashed and alliances formed. The aqueducts, marvels of engineering, carried fresh water to the masses, quenching their thirst and fostering a sense of community. Rome was not just a city, it was a living, breathing entity, thrumming with life and possibility. But with great power came unforeseen challenges. The narrative of Rome was not just one of glory, it was also a tale infused with conflict and ambition that often spiraled into chaos. Corruption seeped into the very fabric of the empire, like ink blotting a page. Political intrigue whispered through the marble halls, as senators plotted against each other, driven by greed and lust for power. The once revered leaders, who stood as pillars of strength, began to crumble under the weight of their own hubris, their decisions leading to cracks in the empire's foundation. Barbarian invasions loomed on the horizon, like dark storm clouds threatening a sunlit day. These fierce tribes, driven by their own ambitions and survival, pushed against the borders of Rome. Fear rippled through the empire, as the once invincible legions faced challenges they had not anticipated. The echoes of battle rang out, a somber reminder that even the mightiest could bleed. As the sun set on the empire, it became evident that the collapse was not merely a product of external threats, but also a tragedy born from within. The very greatness that had propelled Rome to its zenith now sowed the seeds of its destruction. The citizens who had once rejoiced in their empire's bounty now found themselves grappling with uncertainty as their vibrant culture began to fade like the evening light. Yet, even in the ashes of its fall, Rome's legacy endured. Its laws shaped the foundations of modern governance. Its architecture inspired countless generations, and its stories ignited the imaginations of those who came after. The rise and fall of the Roman Empire is not just a chronicle of loss. It is a testament to the enduring spirit of ambition and resilience, a reminder that even in the face of despair, the story of humanity continues to evolve. So, as we reflect on this incredible journey through time, let us remember that every empire, every dream, carries within it the seeds of its own destiny, and that the echoes of the past will forever resonate in our lives today. Years ago, a landscape of rolling hills and verdant fields unfurled across the Italian peninsula. Here, amidst the whispers of the wind and the laughter of children playing near the Tiber River, small tribes and settlements flourished, yet they knew little of the monumental destiny that awaited them. The air was thick with the scent of wild herbs and the distant sound of rushing water, as life ebbed and flowed like the river itself. In this world of uncertainty and tribal conflict, 2 brothers emerged, destined for greatness, yet bound by a fate darker than the shadows cast by the towering olive trees. Romulus and Remus, abandoned as helpless infants, were cradled by a gentle she-wolf. With every drop of milk from her nurturing embrace, they grew stronger, their bond forged in the fires of survival. With bright eyes filled with dreams, they envisioned a city that would rise from the earth like a phoenix. But as the twins laid the foundations of their future, jealousy and ambition brewed like a storm on the horizon. The brothers, despite their shared blood, were driven by a fierce desire for glory that soon spiraled into conflict. In a moment that would echo through history, Romulus, blinded by ambition, struck down his brother Remus, the very soul of his being. The moment was drenched in grief, the lifeblood of their bond spilling onto the ground that would become Rome. Standing amidst the ruins of their brotherhood, he declared himself the first ruler of the city he had envisioned, a city that would soon become a colossal force. Yet this was merely the beginning. As the years unfurled, Rome transformed from a humble settlement into a beacon of strength, its growth marked by the industrious spirit of its people. The Romans, characterized by their discipline and organization, thrived on the fertile banks of the Tiber. They harnessed its waters for trade and transportation, their ships laden with goods and dreams, navigating towards an uncertain future with unwavering resolve. By 509 BC, the winds of change swept through Rome as whispers of revolution filled the air. The last king, a tyrant atop a crumbling throne, was overthrown by the very people he ruled. The establishment of the Roman Republic marked a seismic shift. No longer would a single ruler dictate the fate of the city. The power was shared among elected officials and a senate, a novel idea that resonated through the ages. But even in this newfound freedom, the shadow of inequality loomed large, as the wealthy clung tightly to their influence, leaving the common citizens yearning for more. Yet the flames of ambition burned brightly in the hearts of the Romans, igniting a relentless pursuit to conquer neighboring territories. With each triumphant victory, the Republic expanded, enveloping most of Italy in its embrace. The scent of victory mingled with the salty breeze of the Mediterranean, as Rome's gaze turned outward, dreaming of domination over the entire Mediterranean world. Through triumph and tragedy, the narrative of Rome unfolded, a tapestry woven with the threads of ambition, brotherhood, and the indomitable human spirit. As the sun set on the newly forged republic, the stars above bore witness to the unfolding saga of a civilization that would shape the course of history for millennia to come. In the heart of the ancient world, where the sun painted the sky with hues of gold and crimson, a storm was brewing, one that would echo through the annals of history. Rome, a burgeoning power with dreams of glory, found itself facing its greatest rival, Carthage. This mighty trading empire, nestled along the shores of North Africa, was not merely a city. It was a force of nature, pulsating with the rhythms of commerce and ambition. The air buzzed with tension, thick enough to cut through with a sword, as competition ignited the flames of conflict, known as the Punic Wars. Among the legends that arose from these tumultuous times stood Hannibal, the Carthaginian commander, whose audacity knew no bounds. With the chill of the Alps awaiting him, he rallied his troops, a sea of determination, and called upon the most extraordinary of allies, war elephants. Imagine, if you will, the mighty beasts, their massive forms silhouetted against the craggy peaks, their trumpeting resonating like thunder as they marched into the unknown. Hannibal's ambition was palpable, a fire that ignited hope in the hearts of his men and terror in the souls of Romans. As he crossed the Alps, the world held its breath, believing that Rome, prideful and invincible, would soon crumble. For years, Hannibal's bold strategies and fierce battles sent shockwaves through the Roman military ranks, each victory a dagger to their pride. Yet Rome was not a city that bowed easily. Like a phoenix, it rose from the ashes, rebuilding its shattered legions, driven by a fierce resolve that thrummed through its cobblestone streets. The resolution came like a clash of swords, brutal and decisive. Rome unleashed its fury, and through grit and determination, finally defeated Carthage, transforming into the preeminent power of the Mediterranean. But victory had its price. Wealth poured in like a torrent, yet with it came a widening chasm between the affluent and the destitute. The Republic, once a beacon of hope, began to tremble under the weight of its own success. Fast forward in time, and the winds of change had birthed a new conflict, this time within the heart of Rome itself. Enter Julius Caesar, a man who embodied the spirit of the Republic and yet threatened to consume it. His victories in Gaul painted him not just as a general, but a demigod, revered by the masses but feared by the Senate. The echoes of admiration from the crowded streets contrasted sharply with the whispers of treachery in the marble halls. In 49 BC, with resolve etched deep in his brow, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River, a line drawn in the sand that ignited civil war. The clash of steel and the cries of the fallen marked his ascent as he vanquished his rivals, rising to power with a charisma that dazzled and terrified in equal measure. But glory turned to tragedy on the fateful Ides of March in 44 BC. As he strode into the Senate, a sense of foreboding loomed heavy, and betrayal struck with lethal precision. His assassination was not merely the fall of a man, it was the shattering of an era, plunging Rome into chaos and civil strife. Yet from the ashes of this turmoil emerged Augustus, the architect of a new dawn. As he walked through the halls of power, the air crackled with promise, and the birth of the empire began. Under his leadership, Rome flourished in a golden age known as the Pax Romana, a period of peace that felt like a warm embrace after years of strife. Roads wound through provinces like veins of life, cities blossomed, and the heart of Rome pulsed with prosperity. Engineers and architects crafted marvels that reached for the heavens, connecting a vast empire that sprawled across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Yet amid this splendid tapestry of civilization, one thread remained paramount: the might of the Roman army. Clad in armor that glinted under the sun, soldiers trained with relentless discipline, a brotherhood of iron-willed warriors who stood as the backbone of Rome. Each legion, a fortress of valor, advanced with cunning tactics and unyielding resolve. The scent of sweat mixed with the rustle of shields as they drilled on the training grounds, their spirits forged in the crucible of honor and duty. This potent mix of discipline and innovation enabled Rome to conquer vast swathes of territory, transforming their military into one of the most formidable forces in history. Every soldier, every general, every battle fought was a note in the epic symphony of Rome, resonating through time, echoing the triumphs and trials of a civilization that dared to dream of greatness, and often, against all odds, achieved it. In the heart of ancient Rome, where the sun kissed the cobblestones and the aroma of spices wafted through the bustling markets, life pulsed with a rhythm as varied as the citizens who called it home. On one side of the Tiber River, grand villas sprawled like opulent birds of paradise, their marble facades gleaming under the midday sun, while on the other, crowded apartment buildings stood shoulder to shoulder, their inhabitants whispering secrets through thin walls, laughter mingling with the clatter of cooking pots. Here, the wealthy lounged in lavish baths, soaking in pools of crystal-clear water, while the poor found solace in the warmth of friendship, forging connections amidst the chaos of survival. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the forum, the laughter of children playing in the streets intertwined with the distant roars of gladiators in the Colosseum, where blood and honor danced in a macabre ballet. Citizens gathered in the public baths, not only to cleanse their bodies, but to cleanse their minds, discussing politics, gossiping, and sharing stories of emperors both wise and tyrannical. Among them was a young merchant named Marcus, who dreamt of greatness and feared the shadows of despair that loomed over the empire he loved. The days of Rome were bright under the reign of Emperor Trajan, whose vision expanded the empire to its greatest heights. Yet, like a tide threatening to engulf the shore, challenges emerged. Political instability rocked the foundations of the city. Emperors rose and fell like the waves of the sea, their legacies often marred by corruption and cruelty. What will become of us? Marcus pondered, as he wandered through the bustling market, feeling the weight of uncertainty heavy on his shoulders. By the 3rd century AD, the whispers of decline echoed through the streets. Civil wars shattered the peace, and heavy taxation forced even the hardiest of citizens to their knees. The empire, once invincible, felt the tremors of impending doom as enemies gathered at its borders, their eyes glinting with the promise of conquest. Marcus, now a man weathered by the storms of life, watched as despair painted the city in shades of gray. The rich grew richer, and the poor struggled to hold on to their dreams. In a desperate attempt to restore order, Emperor Diocletian divided the empire, creating eastern and western regions, hoping to ease the burden of governance. Yet, as Marcus witnessed the separation of a once united Rome, he felt a pang of loss, like a heart split in two. The establishment of Constantinople offered a glimmer of hope, a new capital rising from the ashes, yet the specter of decline loomed ever closer. The 4th century brought waves of barbarian tribes, their fierce battles shaking the very foundations of the empire. The Visigoths and Vandals pressed against the borders like an unrelenting tide, and Marcus, now a father, feared for his children's future. The Roman military struggled to respond, resources dwindling, and the once mighty legions now faltered, their banners drooping in defeat. Then came the day that shattered the illusion of invincibility. In 410 AD, the Visigoths swept through the gates of Rome, looting and pillaging, a scene of chaos that burned itself into the memories of those who lived through it. The Eternal City, once a beacon of civilization, now lay scarred, its reputation tarnished. As Marcus knelt among the ruins, tears stinging his eyes, he felt the weight of history pressing down upon him. The 5th century saw the final threads of the Western Roman Empire unraveling, Germanic kingdoms emerging from the shadows, their laughter echoing where once the Romans had ruled. The day arrived when Odoacer, a Germanic leader, stripped the last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, of his crown. In that moment, Marcus felt the air leave his lungs, the final breath of an empire that had once dominated the known world. Yet, from the ashes of the West, the Byzantine Empire rose, its heart beating strong in Constantinople. For nearly 1,000 years, it preserved the legacy of Rome, a flickering candle in the dark. The whispers of Roman law, engineering and culture continued to shape the lands beyond the seas, echoing through time as a reminder of what once was. As Marcus aged, he often reflected on the rise and fall of the empire that had cradled his life. Rome's story became a tapestry of triumph and tragedy, a reminder that even the mightiest can fall, and though the echoes of its grandeur faded, its legacy lived on, woven into the very fabric of civilization. Rome had fallen, yes, but its spirit endured in the hearts of those who cherished its memory, a testament to the resilience of humanity against the tides of time.